Always, guys, respect the pump. I respect the pump in all assets. Why? Because it's kind of like karma. You know, the power of the pump always comes back to you if you respect the pump of other people. It's crazy, but I have this belief that whatever pumps, you have to pay respect. Because otherwise, if you're like, oh my God, this scam coin is pumping again, actually you are kind of rejecting the pump from your life. Maybe it's a bit out there, you know, woo-woo, but we all gotta believe in something, and I do believe in the power of the pump. It's kind of like, you know, let the pump be with you.
The greatest feeling you can get in a gym, or the most satisfying feeling you can get in the gym, is the pump.
GM, welcome back to the channel. This is not an illusion. Yes, Bitcoin is at 30,000 US dollars right about now. So in this video, taking a look at the positioning that has been ongoing into BTC with the ETF right around the corner, it seems. Plus we have a bit of a Solana season underway. Also, if you enjoy the content, make sure you do subscribe to the channel, and let's jump in. So let's start off here with some Bitcoin-based price action, and we can see the pivot was holding around 28K, was marked off on the charts, and this was an area, kind of a bull to bear pivot, where if Bitcoin could hold, and you can see it did come down and wick into the 28K area, it was actually as a support, and we've had a bit of a rocket ride upwards here, primarily over the last 4-hour candle here, with Bitcoin really shooting up somewhere from the region of like 28.6 all the way up to 30,100 and change. Quite interesting to look back now and see that the BlackRock area has held as the base support for Bitcoin. This of course plugs into the fact BlackRock and their spot ETF was always going to be a major trigger of ETF approval, is a case of when and not if. As you can see, didn't really touch these levels. Yes, you could argue there were some spikes below during some big liquidation cascades. Then in terms of sentiment analysis, we had the likes of BitBoy and his arrest and all the palaver we went through over the last few months. At moments, we had an absolute shocking timeline over on crypto Twitter, people being exceptionally bearish, very negative around what was happening. Of course, macro doom as well, but Bitcoin continues to grind on up. So it looks inevitable that we actually test the top of the range here. And then consuming some Crown and Fibbo Swanee interview this morning, go and check that out on Crown's channel if you haven't. Above this kind of region, 31.8, they suggest we could have a bit of a moon ride, as a lot of people would therefore be offside if Bitcoin can break above 31.8 and will want to get back into the market. So very interesting to see. Now, there are few outperformers out there. In terms of Bitcoin dominance, of course, it has continued to go up, and it is very much in an uptrend here, as you can see from the early part of 2023. It just has been ticking on up. Bit of resistance around this area, around 49, 50%, but it did come down, test as support, and seems to be going up yet again. And this is kind of the region I'm marking off, somewhere around 60% for a top, and a bit of a larp line squiggle as to when that could occur going into the ETF. I think Bitcoin generally sucks the air out of the room into the ETF decision, and as we approach that halving, so somewhere around maybe April, May, Bitcoin's dominance could well top out. And we don't really get to see the full-blown alt season until this bad boy does come down yet again, as per figure B over here on the left-hand side. Like we see each and every cycle, Bitcoin sucks the air out of the room. People buy into BTC. The people who have been holding Bitcoin long-term make loads of money. Bitcoin's price then becomes too big of a price tag for new entrants into the market to actually buy it, and they start to buy up other things with cheaper price tags. Plus, you have those who've made a lot of wealth in Bitcoin go and play in the altcoin casino, and therefore we will have the alt cycle yet again at some point in the next bull run, and we will be loving that when it does happen. Moving on, this was quite an interesting one posted by James from Invest Answers. Goes into more detail around Bitcoin dominance, and he says, look, it's refreshing to see fundamental analysis is proving effective with some of the top performers, Sol, Injective, and Render. So Bitcoin in black here, the only ones above it, Tron, as you can see, the utility of money laundering, very good and highly valued by the market. Then we have Injective, the DeFi L1, again, very good tech, showing real signs of traction. Then we have Stacks, quite an obvious beta play to BTC. Ordinals, layer 2 for Bitcoin, makes a lot of sense. Render with the AI and GPU narrative, of course, that makes a lot of sense as well, and an easy investment for TradFi bros. And then we have Solana, the hated coin, getting some major pump action. We do have the FTX potential selling to come via Galaxy Digital. Maybe that is currently ongoing as well. So I wouldn't be totally FOMOing to big green candles of Sol if the bags aren't packed as yet, because there will be some sell pressure, but it does look almighty strong. And then funnily enough, the top performing coin versus Bitcoin over the last month, Bitcoin Satoshi's vision, aka Craig was right. Is he the real Satoshi Nakamoto? Well, looking by the price action, probably. I say that in jest, of course, but if you do look at the chart here for Bitcoin SV, any ideas why the heck this thing pumps so crazily when Bitcoin has a bit of life? Is it just because it's majorly shorted and people absolutely hate the coin? So we get these shorts getting liquidated and therefore major buy pressure coming in for BSV? Or do we have enough silly people in the markets that they see the word Bitcoin but see its price to like 40, 50 bucks and decide to ape that instead? I'm really not too sure on the thesis behind this one, but that is probably the most crypto thing that the rip-off version of Bitcoin outperforms it by a country mile. So a lot of people have asked questions around why is Bitcoin ripping in the face of macro, etc. Well, this from Arthur0x. Interesting take here. He says many were surprised by the strength of this rally, but in this low liquidity environment, most moves are mainly positioning driven, i.e. potential big entities wanting to get some Bitcoin exposure and really moving the markets due to low lick. And according to a crypto venture report, funds collectively have 10 billion AUM. And from conversation with peers, he says most funds are around 50% long. So he thinks around 5 bill of liquid capital can still be deployed into crypto in the short term. And that's likely the reason for the recent leg up. However, he says interesting to see how this will be absorbed by the market, with more than 5 bill of structural selling flow from FTX, Celsius, Bitcoin miners and US government selling, plus potentially Mt. Gox as well. So there are of course some grey clouds on the horizon there, but I do think this is quite a right curve take. And the left curve take really would be institutions are coming, the halving is coming, and also your dollar ain't shit no more, and it's getting inflated away at a rate of knots. Hence, allocate to hard money. So this one was my favorite TLDR of the current situation on the timeline from Runner XBT. He just says simply, someone's been T-wapping like a motherfucker since Monday. That is the reason why we've been going up. Now we also have JP Morgan in a statement on Wednesday. They released some form of report, and within that they stated over the next few months the Bitcoin Spot ETF will be approved in all likelihood. So they're citing the same date that we covered on Tuesday around January the 10th with ARK and the 21 shares application likely to be that final deadline, and where the SEC is probably going to just start approving loads of spot ETFs at the same time. So whether we get wind of this prior to the event, I think that will show up in the charts. If say we start rocketing up towards 40, 50K before then, it's likely someone knows something that is not yet public. Then a quick check-in here with Spot ETF over on Google to see the trends on this. And as you can see, interest over time over this past 12 months, some decent interest back here around the end of August, but it now is projected to go up to 100 as there is clearly a lot of Google searches coming in for Bitcoin Spot ETF right around now. Then we have Solana, 27 bucks today, which is pretty crazy because if you go back just 30 days, you could have bought it in the 18s. But as you can see, a bit of a rocket ride here for Sol up to 27 as mentioned, and it does look very strong from a chart point of view. Now, I do think as soon as the Solana price cools off, wherever it will end up, we're going to see a nice move in the Solana based altcoins, and there will be a lot of interest in this ecosystem. And it looks like my weekend is already planned out for me as we see this recently announced Flowmatic. And if you've seen my video yesterday, we went through the Hero Network Spaces, these guys building on top of Hero. Well, they have their public token launch via Armada coming on Tuesday, October 24th. So Armada is the new LBP liquidity bootstrapping pool built by Hero and the guys over at Sci Finance. And this is a public good for projects to launch their tokens in a fair manner, not like a launch pad, but a fair launch. If you've used Copper or Balancer's LBPs over on ETH mainnet, this is the equivalent, but on Sol. So as Sol is ripping, there's going to be a load of LBPs starting up here on Armada over the next week. We've also got Cypher Protocol, one that you may be airdrop farming as well. That is also having its LBP the following day on Wednesday. So of course, over this weekend, going to be doing some research. How does Armada work? How can we get involved? All that good stuff, and dropping you a video as soon as I can. So Bitcoin at 30Ks, happy days. I hope you all have a great weekend out there. Drop me any comments down below and I will see you guys in the next one. Subscribe if you're new. Peace.